Just don't F me up.
All right, welcome back to the shit show, friends. Welcome back to Just Don't F Them Up podcast. We're back after a small spring break hiatus, but we're so excited to be back today.
Super excited. We have a parenting expert. She's a certified parent coach and a licensed marriage and family therapist. This is Patty Ostber-Speiker.
Ooh.
Wouldn't you just love to go to therapy and like, Dr. Spiker will see you now?
Yes. With the sound effects that do 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 do
Yeah.
do.
Every time you enter a room, it's like Patty is at Evergreen Therapy and Coaching, which offers virtual and in-person sessions. She's in St. Paul, Minnesota, right where our good friend Jenny Decker is located. So you could get a twofer. You can go see Jenny and then you can go see Patty for
Mhm.
some parenting sessions, which I will be frank with you, Patty.
Mhm.
Talk dirty to me about the parenting sessions you do.
Literally. I love that. I love that. Well, I think what you're referring to is that when parents initially come in to get parent coaching, things feel pretty chaotic. Things feel like kids aren't listening, they're not cooperating. And I really appreciate that parents can be honest and say, hey, these things aren't working because that really sets us up to be able to define some goals and really nail down the skills and the tools that are going to help them and increase cooperation in their home. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest topics that I talk about is how do I get my kids to listen to me?
Right.
And the parenting program that I'm trained in, evidence-based parenting program, ideal for ages about 4 to 13. And
Oh,
one of the recommended programs for parents with children of ADHD, which it so the program that I am trained in is adaptive parenting tools is grounded in and based off of Generation PMTO. So Parent Management Training Oregon model. They now call it Generation PMTO. It has over 50 years of research to back its efficacy.
wow.
Yeah, and it began actually at the University of Minnesota. So Dr. George Patterson, Dr. Marion Forgach created Generation PMTO. And how the idea came to them is George Patterson came back from World War II, decorated military veteran, Bronze and Purple Heart in Okinawa, and he began doing work at the University of Minnesota with families, and in particular, children and teens who were getting involved in drugs and abuse and had these big diagnostic um, qualifiers of like ODD, and they were really became interested in why these kids would get treatment and get better in institutions or when they were in therapy, and then they'd go back to their family system and then they'd fall back into those behaviors and back into those patterns.
Yeah.
And they became curious about that. And he was one of the first people to implement social emotional learning model, which is
Really?
the basis of all parenting models. All parenting is social emotional learning model, which means we learn how we learn about our emotions. We learn about how we communicate with others through the people in our homes. So through parents, how parent interactions, parents role model to children. How do I deal with this emotion? How do I show my anger that's appropriate?
Mm.
How do I talk about when I'm upset? How do I talk about that? How are you teaching me to talk about that?
Mm.
But that's a lot of the work that I do is we talk about how are your kids expressing their emotions and how are you emotion coaching them through those big emotions that they have, depending on like what time of day it is and what's happening. So, okay, ask me a question because I've been talking way too much.
That was the perfect amount of speech because in my head I'm thinking, how much do you cost?
I am like literally, can we start right now? Or
When is
I
your soonest availability?
you all are so sweet. Uh,
Because here's my first question.
yeah.
I am an anger stuffer, and people might be surprised that because they think you show your anger. Like, you don't know how much I'm stuffing. I'm just so perturbed so often. And I feel like I've been very trying to be very mindful about how I show my anger on my kids. Like, I'm feeling frustrated. I'm going to go deep breathe now. But my kids still have like these like tantrumy things where I'm like, I don't even, you are mad because the pepperoni is in the wrong spot on the pizza?
Yeah.
What did I do wrong that the pepperoni's location has upset you this greatly?
Well, one of my first questions for me is like, wow, how old are your kiddos? Tell me about their ages. What age are they?
2 and 4.
Oh my goodness, those sound like perfect moments for 2 and 4-year-olds. Like, how dare that pepperoni be on my pizza when I said cheese?
Mm-hmm.
Are you on their side?
Right? So that's such an appropriate response.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's like that's super normal. That's super normal for ages 2 to 4 to be upset about these things, right? This is where they're learning about emotions. Like, I get to be mad about things and then you're going to respond to me. What?
Oh, wow.
So I'd say it's super normal that they're doing that. I mean, and then my question is, what are you looking for?
Perfection.
Yeah. I love that question. Oh, so I've got some research for that one too.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So when we think about cooperation with children and this idea of cooperation, how long do you think it takes us as humans and as children to learn cooperation?
6 years. I have no idea.
I don't forever.
Forever. I love that. Yes. Yes. So we're still learning cooperation even as adults, aren't we? We're still learning how to be in relationship with people that maybe we don't have, our personalities aren't meshing. We're still learning cooperation throughout our lifetimes. And so when we think about cooperation with children, I love to ask the question, what percentage of the time do you think is appropriate for them to be cooperating with you?
Oh, good question.
Mm,
Realistically, God, realistically, I'll say 50%.
Wow. Okay. 50. And what about you, Miranda?
I feel like what I'm getting right now is maybe 3%. So
Yeah.
maybe like 15 would be a good jump.
15 would be a great jump. Yes, yes. And so when your children are cooperating with the two of you, I'm curious, how do you let them know that? How do they know that they're doing what you want them to do?
I mean, lots of reinforcement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we
I'll
say
say,
shiny. Go ahead, sorry, go ahead. You
oh,
go.
yeah. I'm just thinking of like, I'll say, like, oh, this is so fun to do with you. You know, you're doing a great job.
Oh, I love how much you're sharing with your sibling while we're painting this together and you're sharing the crayons. That's amazing. High five, kiddo. Way to go. This is so much fun when we can share our crayons with each other and we can see the colors. Right? So we call that shining the light on the behavior we want to grow. So shine the light on the behavior you want to grow.
Shine bright like a diamond.
Yeah, so we say we wonder about that and like how often are you doing that? But then the other thing about it is, so when we think about a percentage in adaptive parenting tools, we say cooperation is doing as told within 10 seconds, 70% of the time.
10 seconds?
Give them 10 seconds to respond. We can get to that in a minute, but I really want to, let's set that aside. We'll get to the 10 seconds in a minute. Let's focus on that 70%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
70%.
Stuck on that.
Right? So 30% of the time, what are we saying that 30% of the time, what do kiddos get to be?
Silly gooses.
Silly gooses, hungry, tired, frustrated. they've kept their shit together all day and they come home from school.
Yeah.
Maybe they need some time to just let themselves be who they really feel like they want to be. And depending on what kind of classroom they're coming from, depending on what their activities, their schedule looks like. Right. So 70% of the time, what do you guys think about 70%?
Does the 70% happen with us, or does the 70% happen? Can that 70% be filled with their time at school and elsewhere? And then they come.
Up to you. That's up to you to decide as a parent. Like what are you aiming for? What's your big goal with 70%? I think for some homes, like for your home, maybe that is your goal. It's part school, part at home. And then for other parents, it's like they do pretty well at school. I just want them to do what I want them to do when they get home. Or, it can look very differently in different homes. You get to decide.
I think that for me, like if they could be more than 3 to 5% cooperative at home, that would be lovely. 70%, I don't even know what my life would look like.
Yes. Yeah. So 70%. So what's really interesting about that number is ADAPT was created for military families.
What?
And yes. Yeah. And so in a military family, cooperation is 110% of the time. Right? It's very rigid. It can be very rigid. Not all military families, but it typically is very rigid. And by the way, I'm an Army brat. I grew up in the military, and so that's really what drew me to ADAPT in the beginning. And I've just really fallen in love with the program. I think there's a lot of great things about it. I could talk about the research of what's come out of that too in a little bit.
Wow.
But so 110%. So not giving kids enough wiggle room to be able to be hungry or tired or have a bad day. Or, sometimes I'm not cooperative. My partner wants me to do something and I'm like, no, I don't feel like doing that. I'm going to sit and read my book instead. I'm not cooperating. Right. So we think about 70%. There's some research behind that number. So when in research studies, children who cooperate 70% of the time, and this is across countries, this is a cross-cultural study.
Oh,
children who cooperate 70% of the time are successful in their homes and in their schools and in their communities. When given a request by a reasonable adult too. Right?
So the success
a reasonable request.
Okay. I was just wondering, like, how are we measuring success? So the successful part is that a request is made and they fulfill it.
Yeah, they follow through. Like, pick up your shoes now, please. And the child picks up the shoes.
And 70% of the time.
That's within the 10 seconds, or is that just in?
Yes. So let's talk about directions, right? So how are we communicating to our children what we want them to do? How do you tell your children you want them to do something?
Depends on what it is, but like yesterday, I was like, hey, it's time to get ready for karate. Can we pick up all these outside toys and then get changed and go?
Yeah. So there's a couple things on that list. So first you're saying, I want you to stop what you're doing, whatever it is they're doing. And I want you to come and pick up all these toys. Then I want you to get ready. And then we're going to head out the door. Right? Okay.
A lot of things.
Yeah. Nice. And what percentage of the time do you get cooperation and follow through on all of those tasks?
Well, it depends on if they want to do the thing. Like they like to go to karate and they don't like to be late. So they were a little bit motivated to do that. So
I love that you know that.
We all just picked up. It wasn't a lot of stuff, but for something like that, I would say it's a little bit higher. If it's like, okay, everyone, after warnings, it's time to come and eat. So let's shut off the TV and come to the table.
Yeah.
Within 10 seconds, I would say that happens maybe one time out of 74.
Yeah. Okay. 74. Yeah. So I heard a couple different things there. So when we think about giving our child a direction, let's role play. Would one of you role play with me?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, Mackenzie? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Mackenzie, you're going to be my child. What age do you want to be? I'd say pick between the ages of like 4 and 13.
I'll be 6.
You want to be 6. Okay. All right. And I'm going to give you a direction. And I want you to cooperate with me on this one because I promise that we will get to some role plays where you're not going to cooperate.
Okay. Thank God.
Yeah, we're going to get to those. But this one, I want you to follow through with me. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to walk up to you and I'm going to want you to pick up your shoes. Okay? So I'm going to
Okay.
walk up to you. Let's say you're in the living room. I walk up to you and I put my hand on your shoulder and say, Mackenzie, hi, honey. How are you?
Fine, what do you want?
Ah, I see you're reading that favorite book of yours.
Yeah. It's my favorite. It's Harry
I-
Potter.
Oh, I love reading Harry Potter with you too. I love that. And I noticed that your shoes are on the floor. So, Mackenzie, I'm gonna put my hand on your shoulder. Pick up the shoes and put them away now, please.
Okay.
Thank you so much, kiddo. High five.
High five. I love you, Mom.
Thank you for following through. Thank you so much. Okay, so time out on that role play.
Mm.
So what did you notice? How did we start that?
Oh, good
You-
connection. You
Yeah,
like the
like
book I'm
engage-
reading too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't just walk up and say, Mackenzie, what are your shoes doing on the floor? What is that? What?
Yeah.
How many times do I have to tell you?
Yeah.
Have you been hanging out in my home?
Yeah. I was just thinking that literally happened this morning with Magnetiles.
Love magnetiles.
Ugh.
Yeah, so I put my hand on your shoulder and what did I do? What was the formula? What did I say?
You used her name.
Name. Yeah. And then what did I do?
Connected with the activity I'm currently doing.
So I first connected with the activity, right? And I said, I see you reading a book. Yep. And now I'm going to have you. So Mackenzie,
Mhm.
pick up your shoes,
And put them away
put them
now,
away. Now, what else?
please.
Now, please. Yeah. And why do we say now? What do you think is the importance of now?
I get it. Because
Yeah.
they'll say, okay, yeah, I will. I will in a little bit.
Yeah.
And do
In
that
5
all the
minutes.
time.
5 more
Yeah.
minutes.
Right. And then why would we might want to add please on there? Why might we add the please on the end?
Because I want them to say please.
Yes, if we want them to say thank you and please, we are role modeling what we want our children to be doing for us,
Mhm.
right? So let's do that one again. And I actually want you, when I give you the direction, I want you to give me some sass. I want you to just see what I do. Okay. And after 10 seconds, though, I do want you to go ahead and do the thing I'm asking you to do, or I'm telling you to do. That was the other thing, too. Did I ask it as a question? Did I say, Mackenzie, would you put your shoes away, please?
No, you did not. I need
No. Right. It was a statement, right? It's a statement. So
Mhm.
this next one we're going to do again. And I want you to, you can do whatever you want to do with me. But then at 10 seconds, I really want you to follow through. Okay. So
Yeah.
people can understand the effect, what happens in the role play. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm gonna walk up to you again and I put my hand on your shoulder and I say, hey, Mackenzie. Hi, honey. How are you?
Don't touch me.
Yeah, I can see you're kind of grumpy. Yeah.
No, not you are.
Mackenzie,
What?
pick up the shoes and put them in the closet now, please.
I can't.
And I'm standing next to you and I'm just standing there. And I'm looking at you.
Okay, my kid would be like, what do you want?
Okay, so I
Wait.
said, so at 10 seconds, I wanted you to follow through, right? So you would
Yeah,
follow
okay.
through. You
I'm
went and put
going.
the shoes away. You're going. Okay, great. Thank you, Mackenzie. Thank you so much. High five. Thank you for putting your shoes away. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay. So let's talk about that. So how was that different than the first one?
I was
You-
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go.
I was very attached to your body being calm and your breathing.
Yeah. So if I'm staying calm and I'm breathing. And this actually, in video, it's kind of, or the way we're doing it now, like if I'm standing next to you and I'm the parent, and I'm just standing and holding. That is all I'm doing. I'm standing and holding, and I'm just looking at you. And you could be saying all things like, wow, mom, you're the worst. Why do you always make me do things when I don't want to? And I'm just standing there, just taking my deep breaths. What is that role model to the child?
Pretty effective coping mechanism.
Yeah. Right. So I'm treating you the way I want you to treat me. You can have big feelings. Kiddos can have big feelings. However, I'm not going to, in Adapt, we're always talking about de-escalate. How do we de-escalate? Our child is going to attempt to escalate just because emotions do that. Emotions tend to do that. I'm not saying they're manipulating. Some people like to use that language. I don't use that language. I think sometimes language elevates. And so our job is to de-escalate, to help that child and role model to that child how to bring that emotion down. And then you did cooperate, even though I waited and I was breathing, you did cooperate. You did the thing I told you to do. And then how did I follow up with that? What did I do?
Same thing, high five and some praise.
Yes. So I'm saying thank you for cooperating. Right? I'm shining the light on the behavior I want to go and grow. And this kind of goes back to, people talk about the Gottmans all the time, that 5 to 1. Right? So 5 positive interactions versus 1 negative interaction. It's the same with our kiddos. Can we be training our brain to notice when our child does the thing we want them to do and shine the light on that behavior? Because what we know is when we shine the light on the behavior we want to grow, we get more of that behavior. And if we're shining the light on the cooperative moments, what do you think that does over time for children? What does that do?
I mean, it shapes their behavior, right? Like they want to do more of the things that they're going to get the reinforcement for.
Absolutely. It feels so good when parents notice that I picked up my toys and you didn't even ask me. And I picked up my toys and you noticed that I did that. I'm going to be motivated to do more of that. Right. So we think about the impact of how are we trying to influence the increase of cooperation in our homes.
Yeah. Okay, I have 2 specific questions of things that I say to my kids, like, because I get a lot of pushback. My boys are 5 and almost 8.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, I love those ages. Yeah.
Oh, there are many fun things about it, and there are also many, many challenges with them. But so sometimes I'll do and I'll work on tweaking my wording a bit, but I'll ask like, hey, we forgot to pick up backpacks. Can we get our backpacks picked up? And whatever. And by that, they come in, drop everything. And I just want them to bring me their water bottles and empty their folders because we go through the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And they'll say, no. And so sometimes I'm like, hey, I'm not asking, I'm telling.
Yes. So how would you turn that into an effective direction? What are your sons' names?
Huxley and Hendricks.
Okay, so say I'm Huxley. Let's role play it. I'm Huxley.
Okay.
Have this new formula for an effective direction, right?
Yes.
I dropped my backpack by the door. I didn't bring it where you needed me to bring it. How are you going to give me an affection? So what was the formula again?
It was use your name,
Name,
connection,
yeah,
and then give the direction.
So name, do X, now please.
Now please.
You can connect with me. You can be like, hey, Huxley.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you got this. You got this.
Okay. Hey, Hux, I hope your day was good and you had whatever for lunch today that you were looking forward to. Backpacks are still on the ground, so could you every time.
Right. It's not a question. So let's make it into a statement. And this is exactly why we practice when we're with parents, because we know, and the research shows that when you practice, when you're not elevated and you're not escalated and you're not in the moment, when you practice, you are more likely than to go home and try it out and be successful. And I
This,
want you to be successful at this.
this is my own stuff coming back to bite me because I tell clients this every goddamn day. That like, if we practice when we're not elevated, then we're going to be so much more effective. We practice before we show up to the game, right? And then here I am at home not forking practicing and doing the same shit over and over.
I love that you're noticing that, right? So that's the other key skill as parents is, are we noticing when we can make improvements ourselves, right? And we get to be human. Oh my goodness, you didn't get it perfect. You didn't get it perfect this time. Okay, parents also get 70%. Okay, we also get 70% because we can't be perfect all the time either. And we get do-overs and we get to have repairs, right? So Miranda, let's do this effective direction. So I'm Huxley. I put my backpack down.
Okay. I'm gonna screw it up again. Okay.
You got this.
I hope you had a good day. I noticed your backpack's still on the ground. I need you to pick it up now, please.
Ooh, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Yeah. So Huxley, pick up your backpack now, please. Right? So we're keeping it very simple, very few words, right? There's no question of when you want me to do it.
Right. Because if there is a loophole, they will find it.
Yeah.
You said pick it up. You didn't say when.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I've literally heard that before. So
I tell parents all the time, I want you to think about this as an experiment. Like, go home and try it out. See what happens. And I want you to pay attention to, like, you can even keep a little log, right? So when you gave the direction, what was happening? Did you give an effective direction? Was it named do X now, please? Or did you ask it as a question like, Huxley, can you pick up your backpack now, please? No, I don't wanna. Right? Are you asking it as a question? Are you saying, like, I really need you to do this for me. Pick up your backpack. Right? How are you giving that direction? And then when you give an effective direction, what percentage of the time are you getting that cooperation?
yes.
Like that is, we spend a whole session doing that. And then they go home and they practice, they try it out. So the other thing about effective directions, so we also have some where we're like, they're not effective directions. So, and I already heard you two talking about this and I love it because it happens in everyone's homes, right? So let's say I'm in the kitchen cooking dinner, or I'm in the kitchen chopping vegetables, right? And we're done. I've got them ready for dinner and I'm calling from the kitchen. So I'm going to say, Miranda, I'm calling for you. Miranda, it's time to eat. Come to the dinner table.
Every day of my life. That is exactly what I do.
Yeah. So long distance, right? We're making a long distance call. And what percentage of the time do you get follow through? Sometimes kids will do it. They do sometimes.
Yeah.
What percentage of the time? How often do you think you get cooperation doing that?
Maybe half, maybe.
Wow, that's really good. 50% cooperation on a long distances. That tells me that there's some really lovely relationship between you and your children.
Oh, there totally is.
Yeah, I love that. So how could we make that more effective?
I need to go to where they are.
Yeah.
Yell for them.
I walk in and I say Huxley and Huntley.
And Hendricks.
Huxley and Hendricks. Hey guys. Oh, I see you're watching your favorite episode, whatever TV show. What show do they like to watch?
Oh, they watch different things now because Huxley's a big kid. And so he has to watch big kid shows. But Bluey is a safe assumption that it's always on at our house.
Love Bluey. Oh, I see. Oh, it's the Bluey episode. I see that. Yeah. So, hey, kiddos. Guys, come to the kitchen now, please. It's time to eat.
I feel like when you say that, I'm like, yeah, I got to get my ass to the kitchen.
Yeah.
You say it with such authority that it's like, yes, I absolutely do need to go there right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so, and am I yelling at you?
No.
What's my tone of voice when I do that?
I'm pretty serious.
Yeah, serious.
I'm serious.
Mhm.
Sure.
You're
Am I?
not questioning, like there's no question in your voice.
Yes.
Like,
This
very
is
like confident.
this is a
Mhm.
statement. We're going to do this now, right? We're going to go eat dinner now.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right? Thinking about tone of voice, thinking about facial expressions, thinking about all those things. How are we increasing our chances of cooperation with our children?
Right.
I
Right?
think I
So
need to do
then-
some like grounding before participating in this
Yeah.
because I'm noticing if I had like a really long day and then I have to like make a meal and I'm just like, I'm hot and I'm sweaty and I'm like, "Ugh, I did all this stuff for you." And I'll like come to dinner. Assholes. I made this for you. So I think I need to ground and say, yes, I made you
Yeah.
yummy dinner.
I love that you're noticing how you are feeling in your own body and how you're managing your own emotions really then can impact how you are communicating with your children, your
Mhm.
chances of cooperation, and then also how the rest of the night's going to go,
Mm-hmm.
right? Totally based on noticing what's happening in you.
Yes.
So part of ADAPT, we do a noticing exercise every single session. There's some sort of noticing, whether it's a food one or a visualization or breathing. We're doing some sort of noticing. And the reason is that as you all probably know, there's lots of research coming out, more and more research coming out about the importance of, we say noticing, it's mindfulness,
Mhm.
and how mindfulness really exercises the part of the brain to help us choose how we respond in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It really exercises that part. And so when we talk about noticing, we talk about it as these are exercises. It's really, if maybe you guys are fit, I'm not fit, but if I said to you, okay, I want you to go out and run a 10K tomorrow, could you all both go out and run a 10K? Maybe you could. I
No.
couldn't, right? So
No.
I have to build up my capacity to run that 10K. I have to practice. I have to
Mhm.
practice building up to that. And it is the same thing with mindfulness. We are practicing that part of our brain to be able to notice and choose how we respond in the moment. And the more that we practice, the easier it becomes.
Mhm.
Yes. Strengthen the synapse.
Same things I'm telling my clients that I don't do.
That's a good do. Turns out I should have been listening to myself this whole time. Turns out I should have been. Yeah.
Ugh. I don't want to be right for myself.
That would require so much work.
Oh my gosh. Yes, okay. So I love all of this. And then the follow-up is, other than just standing there and waiting, like, is there another response, or is that it? Do you just stand there and wait?
Yeah, I love that question. So a lot of parents are like, just tell me what I need to do when they don't do it.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? Just tell me what I need to do when you don't do it. And what I would say is that we eventually get there. We don't, in ADAPT, we don't start out with some form of teaching behavior. Also, some people call it discipline. Discipline means to teach, right? So how are we teaching our children when they have these big behaviors, what's going to happen?
Mhm.
There is a form of timeout that ADAPT uses. And there's, so ADAPT is based on PMTO. PMTO has been implemented across the country. So New York State, Kansas also implements this program. Michigan implements this program. And timeout can be a time in, you can be whatever you want it to be. You don't have to be specific to timeout language. I know a lot of parents are like, I don't like timeout, and that's okay. It's just, are you creating a pause in what's happening with the child for them to reset? Really, the purpose is a pause and a reset.
Mhm.
Oh.
So, yeah, you get to decide how you want to do that, but I would say we really don't get to that until like week 6 or 7. And why do you think that is? Why do we not start out with a timeout as like the first thing? Why would we not do that?
But doesn't the research show that like timeouts and discipline is not nearly as effective as reinforcement is?
Yeah, it's not nearly as effective as relationship building.
Mm.
If I'm building in cooperation, if I'm building it, so we start with values. What are the parenting values that you want to be instilling in your children? And we come up with a value based on that. We come up with a goal for the parent to be instilling that value. Okay, so we start with values. Then we go into effective directions. A little glimpse into it. There's some other things that we do with effective directions. That's just a small little portion. Then we go into teaching new behaviors, which is an incentive chart.
Mhm.
5 simple steps incentive chart. And then we go into recognizing emotions. How do we recognize emotions in ourselves and recognize emotion in our children? And how do we respond to that?
Mm.
The next week is responding to emotions. And then we get to setting limits. So we're not till like week 6 before we're even starting to set limits. Because what would that do to the environment of the home? If I'm setting limits week 1, what is that going to do to the environment of the home?
It's pretty punitive, very like rigid.
Yes, I'm going to be noticing when you're doing things wrong,
Mm-hmm.
rather than taking the effort and the extra step to notice when you're doing the things I want you to do and shining the light on the behavior I want to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
That's social emotional learning model, right? We want to be role modeling to our children how we are in relationship to them, how we want them to be in relationship to us.
Mm-hmm.
And parents have so much control in setting the tone of their home, which then impacts the ability for children to cooperate and want to cooperate.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Such a theme. I feel like all these people we talk about are like, basically, we got to have our shit together, and then things will get better at home.
Remember 70% though, 70%. It's the same for parents, right?
Yeah.
Like we get to have bad days. We get to have bad nights of sleep, you
Mhm.
know? There's just so much to be said about showing kids who are authentic selves and then being able to be in relationship with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. A lot of
But-
modeling behaviors.
Yeah. Well, and this is just such a like these are little tweaks, right? Like I think we're all saying like, "Hey, come and eat. Hey, can you blah blah blah. Hey, can we da da da." And so these little tweaks that we can make such a difference in just like we freaking talk. I teach DBT. So
Oh, yes, yeah. And so you'll probably love this about ADAPT is that
Yeah.
ADAPT brings together DBT skills, it brings together CBT skills, it brings together I'm trying to remember some of the other programs that like it's eluding me right now. But it does combine a lot of these really effective skills. So I love that you know DBT.
Yeah.
You're probably
Yeah.
going to see some of that. You would see it.
Yeah. Well, and even just the way you're talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I tell people that. I tell people
Yeah.
that. I tell them that. And I think, yeah, like these are little tweaks that we can make that have the potential to make a big difference in cooperation. And I think, like you started out saying, we all just want our freaking kids to listen to us. Like we just want them to cooperate a little bit more.
Mhm.
Well, and the other thing I would add is so with ADAPT, what the research has shown around what it does for folks is that when parents feel better about how they parent, their self-esteem actually goes up. And then it also helps the children feel better. If parents are feeling better, kids are doing better.
Mm-hmm.
So parents feel much more able to handle things that come their way after participating in a parenting program like ADAPT. So it builds self-esteem. We know specifically in the military population, it reduced symptoms of PTSD
Whoa.
significantly in mothers.
Oh,
It reduced suicide risk for moms and dads.
Jubba-dee.
Yep.
That's
And
really
it also improved for those diagnosed with depression.
Mhm.
Wow.
So when parents feel better about themselves, when they feel that they're more effective, it has long-term impacts then on mental health.
Mhm.
And then when parents feel better, then it also has long-term impacts on how their children feel.
Wow.
My gosh. Okay, I
That's
feel like
a-
you're kind of talking me into taking this training, so I
Yeah.
can both learn it for myself and then also teach it to many of my clients.
I will tell you right now, unfortunately, ADAPT doesn't have a method of training other clinicians at this time.
Okay.
What they do is they will contract with an agency and they will teach a group of people. The way the research model works is that you learn how to do group facilitation first, and after you've done several group facilitations, then they will do an individual training to do individual ADAPT.
Cool.
It's I keep pushing them like, guys, people want this. People want
Yeah.
this. And I talk to other clinicians, they're like, I want to take this training, Patty. And I'm like, oh, I can't. It's not out yet. They're not at that point yet.
Okay.
But I mean, a lot of the skills from PMTO, I mean, they brought together a lot of skills that you've probably seen in other parenting programs. I think one of the differences with ADAPT is that it really focuses on emotions. It focuses on positive parenting techniques. And then it brings in a lot of mindfulness, which
Mm.
not all parenting programs, that's a little bit of the differentiation in it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, I love it. And this was so just like helpful and informative. And I've said before, like I try to take one thing that I can like do from each of these interviews that we're doing, and I have my thing and I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
do it, and I'm actually really excited. Like I
I
want my
want
kids to come home so I can start telling them what the hell to do.
please go home and use that effective direction and email me. Please tell me, how does it go? Right? Tell me how it went. I'd love to hear your experiment with trying an effective direction and if you've noticed that it increases cooperation in your home.
Mm,
Yeah, well, I love doing the role playing because we get a lot of questions about practical application after episodes. So it's really helpful to have the like actual examples that people can work off of that then.
Yeah. So I think our listeners should, if you try this, like uh, tag us, email. I'm so terrible at social media us and let us know how it went.
Yeah.
And also send in whatever questions you have, and we can try to figure out the answers to them.
Yeah. Or just contact Patty and give her all of your money.
Yeah. Right. Why not? I'm gonna give her all of
I
mine.
don't know
So
how you could put a number on this kind of service.
Love working with parents. So if parents are struggling, I'd love for them to reach out and schedule with me.
yeah.
It's so important to the lifelong development of your relationship with your child to establish some of those really lovely grounding skills and techniques in the beginning. So you can have the relationship that most parents dream of when their children are older.
Aw,
That's the dream. All right. That's it. That's
yeah.
what we need.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much. This is so awesome. Like I said, I'm so excited to try to use this and hear from our listeners how this has gone. And yeah, we'll link all of your stuff in our app and so people will know where to find you. And yeah,
Well, thanks to you all for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks
giving-
for coming. For
yeah.
our listeners, check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I think we started a Twitter, and so it's still out there. And then sometimes we post things too, but We're not
We have Twitter?
swear to God, we have Twitter. No, we don't. What's the
It's
other
X.
one?
Isn't it X?
TikTok.
TikTok. We don't have a Twitter, we have a TikTok. I knew it started with a T.
Social media, please. We know what we're
Yes.
doing.
All encompassing.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and we will talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.